Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey, hi. Am I there? Am I there? Am I there? Hello, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Some technical issues, and I think I played a part in it too. So human error as well. I hope you're all there, and forgive me. I am feeling more and more like an adult old woman. Dang it. Jeez. I always feel that way after I watch the Grammys. Jeez, so out of it. At least I make an effort. I find them fascinating year after year, just all of this stuff that I know nothing about. And I find some of it off-putting, and I find some of it just astonishing and makes me wish I were young so I could understand it better and immerse myself in it and not be put off by some of the things that do put me off because of my age and coming up in an era in which some of what I see would be, just strikes me as unnecessary. And I'm mostly talking about the unbelievable nakedness of the women and the just out and out sexuality. I guess that's what music is. Always was. There's something, yes, very primitive and basic about it. But I like subtlety more than the culture apparently does. But yeah, wow. The Grammys, unbelievable. And if there's any doubt that it's Black art that drives American culture, that gets put to rest simply by watching the Grammys and then just thinking about history. And even when the white folks were up there, much of the time, they were just ripping off the Black people. I'm sorry to say, that's just it. Pretty incredible. But I have nothing of, most of these people were new to me. And I'm always left feeling old. and I am. So I guess, whatever. And I thought, apparently the show was over 4 hours long. I bailed out, early, as an old person would. But I have found that watching the Grammys year after year is a really good way to at least stay somewhat in touch with what's happening in contemporary popular music. Now, I know the Grammys give out a million awards, and most of them, I guess, like the Academy Awards, are not given in the award show. And I was noting the list of some of those, and again, it's just so clearly dominated by Black art. Just clearly, mind-blowingly. And then there's all these weird things like Best Global Music Album. What does that mean in this day and age? Global music. Now, it was an African who won it, Burna Boy. But music, it seems to me, is all global now. I don't understand even the categories. I want to note that Mr. Rogers kind of won a Grammy last night for Best Historical Album. And it's titled It's Such a Good Feeling. And I also want to note that it was Robert Bianca, who once lived amongst us here in Pittsburgh before going off to USA Today to be their chief television critic, that he, I guess, won a Grammy last night because he did the liner notes for the Mr. Rogers album. So I don't know what to say. And how the hell Rachel Maddow wins for Best Spoken Word Album? I mean, so she read her book, which is titled, by the way, Blowout, Corrupted Democracy, Rogue State Industry on Earth. No, I skipped a whole line. What's with book titles now? What is with that? How it's like one word or two and then a subtitle that goes on for hours. What is with that? Anyway, so she won a Grammy for just reading her book out loud, which is titled, I'm going to get this, Blowout, Corrupted Democracy, Rogue State Russia, and the Richest, Most Destructive Industry on Earth. That's the title. I actually think one of my brother's last books had and it was probably a play on this kind of thing, had one of the longest subtitles I've ever seen, but it was clear that it was meant to be funny. I don't think these titles are funny, and I think they're immemorable as well. But how would she win for reading her book? I mean, if you're going to win a Grammy for a book reading, wouldn't you have to be like, I mean, how much differentiation in her delivery could there have been in reading a book like that? I can see, okay, so this included all poetry, audiobooks. I'm not going to read it all. I'll just read the parts I liked. Terrence Scott Alcorn, age 65, got out of washing the floors this week by passing away on March 3rd. He claimed to be born on July 23rd, 1955, but significant evidence points toward extra. I'm sorry, too much input from too many sources. He claimed to be born on July 3rd, 1955, but significant evidence points toward extraterrestrial. I wanted to make sure I was pronouncing that right. There's R's in there that I didn't want to get wrong. Extraterrestrial origins. And then, that begs more, but you don't get it, which is my one disappointment. And then it goes on to his career. His career as a university lab architect. He designed labs. His career as a university lab architect led to innovations in designs, such as making sure the rooms had doors. Okay. In his spare time, Terrence found joy in skiing, woodworking, gardening, working with animals, and going to drag shows with his friends. He is survived by his wife, his daughter, blah, 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 his brothers, his extended family and friends who all loved him, and 2 pissed off cats. Wisp Alcorn, better known as Baby Girl, and Charlie B. Alcorn, or Charlie Bucket Alcorn. So I like that one because it made me laugh. You know, if you can laugh at an obit, that's a good obit. And I thank all who write such obituaries, indeed. I probably should have saved that for later because I don't see anything here that's going to give us much of a laugh. I blew it all in the front. Too bad. Too bad for you. Too bad for me. Imagine I'm reading my New York Times this morning. I actually still have the paper delivered, which is an extravagance that's probably. For one thing, the paper is shrinking. The cost of having it on my doorstep 7 days a week is growing. And there clearly isn't everything in the print edition that is offered in the digital. So this little luxury that I'm giving myself seems increasingly absurd. So anyway, I say all that to say, so I'm reading it, and then I don't know, it's pretty early in, maybe page 6 or something. There is my my sister-in-law, right? My brother's wife is in the first sentence, and then she's quoted all the way down through the first, and it's a story that I'll tell you what the headline is. I'm not telling the story well, am I? Afraid the little ones won't know you after a year plus of enforced separation. So this was in the COVID section, and it's apparently a story they hadn't done yet, which is pretty astonishing. And that is how hard this has been on grandparents, but especially grandparents, like, in fact, my brother and sister-in-law, because they were first-time grandparents, just as the pandemic hit. My brother happened to be in London when his first grandchild was born, in London, his daughter's son. And he was able, by virtue of being there, to at least see his first grandchild through a window in the hospital. But that was that. And then he had to hightail it out of there and got on one of the last planes where you could get the hell out of Europe and back to the United States. So that's when everything was closing down. It was exactly a year ago because the little guy celebrated his first birthday 2 days ago. So, but his grandmother, who I call the baby whisperer, never was a woman meant to be a grandmother more than my sister-in-law. She looked like a grandmother when she was 6. She just has that, there's a grandmother glow about her. And so it was particularly cruel that when her first grandchild was born, she could not get anywhere near that child. And then to top it off, her second grandchild gets born just months later, her son giving her that child. Well, not really. Her son, sorry, Claire. Anyway, so she has her first 2 grandchildren, and so she's quoted throughout about how hard this was on her, and she's thoroughly embarrassed that she ended up in the paper like this. But I mean, I have truly felt for her. It said, it says she had collected a small stash of blankets, toys, and clothes to tuck into her suitcase and reserved a bed and breakfast near her daughter's flat for the month of April. I would be there every day and help out and get to know this little guy, said Ms. Kohler, who is 63. I couldn't wait. The trip never took place, of course. And so she has gotten to know her first grandchild on Zoom and on FaceTime every day. And it makes clear that, I mean, every day, because she so wants to know the child, to see the child. And he's walking now, running all over the place. This is hard on grandparents. And then because grandparents, although not Kathy, grandparents are often very, very old, and they're nearing the end. And so to be deprived of an entire year of seeing and being with grandchildren has been a cruel thing. Although the pandemic has had crueler things to dish out, I must say. All right. Okay, can I get to my favorite story that I saw this in the last 4 days? It was my favorite because it taught me something I didn't know about the natural world and how mind-blowing it is. And it's not a subject that normally I would talk about, but I was so just blown away. I can't think of anything else to say by this story that I want to share just some of it with you. First of all, it is about, growing things. It is about not fauna, but flora, okay? And it starts out by reminding us that when you go into the produce section of a grocery store, there are things that are just totally misidentified and mislabeled in there. And so a lot of us really don't have a sense of what a fruit is or what a vegetable is. We classify things incorrectly. And I'll never get any of it straight myself. I don't care. I just want to know, do I like it or don't I? I don't care if it's a vegetable or a fruit or I don't know, a rock. So many of us know that technically tomatoes are fruits, but you probably didn't know that technically so is an eggplant, so is a cucumber, and so is a spaghetti squash. Those are all technically fruits. A banana, which you think is a fruit, is actually, get this, a berry. And I guess it's a berry because it grows from a flower that has only a single ovary, which I guess then makes it a berry. Don't ask me. Botany is not a subject I ever took. And as you can see, it is somewhat shocking. Who even knew plants had ovaries? So a banana is a berry, but a strawberry is not. But let's get to the one that I really need to talk about. And that is figs. Figs. In the produce aisle, the figs will be with the grapes and the kiwis and all the other fruit. But if you were to ask a botanist, they would say, no. They belong with the fresh cut flowers. And if you doubt me, the reality is that if you bite into a fig, you will discover at its core tiny blossoms So the fig has these enclosed flowers that you never see, that bloom inside. And none of it would happen without the wasps. And I don't mean white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. I mean wasps. Because a fig is actually a ball of flowers, obviously, that don't seek a lot of attention because you can't see them. It is these shy flowers. But if it's a flower, it needs to be pollinated, right? Well, how the hell does that happen? Aha, the wasp. But how do you get in? Well, the fig wasp is small, and the fig wasp owes its entire life cycle to the fig, and the fig owes its entire life cycle to the wasp. This is total symbiosis. Who knew? So the females lay their eggs inside, and then after the offspring hatch and mature, the males mate, it says, and then chew a tunnel to the surface, and just when they break through, look, blue sky, they drop dead. Nature is so brutal. So brutal. The females, on the other hand, step over their dead. These are the offspring that have they step over, and they've had sex inside with the male. This is also confusing to me. I don't know, but they step over the bodies of the dead males and go fly off looking for the exact kind of fig, because for every kind of different fig, there's a different kind of wasp. And as soon as they find the next fig, they go inside and deposit the pollen from their birthplace. And then the females lay eggs, and the cycle begins again. But the females that have gotten in and laid their eggs, they too are doomed, like the males who tunnel out. They're doomed because when they burrow in to lay their eggs, the entryway is booby-trapped to destroy the female wasp's wings, so she cannot ever fly away. She dies inside. So when you eat a fig, you're eating flowers and female wasp remains, I guess. Oh, dear God. And this one, believe me, this story goes on and on and on and on. And it gets more and more and more fascinating. Who knew? There are a million different species of figs, and of them the wasps. And they provide an awful lot of sustenance for a lot of animals. The way the whole fig wasp thing works is the wasp leaves a ripe fig to find an unripe fig, which means that there must always be figs at different stages of growth, unlike so many of the plants we think of, right? These guys shoot up in the spring, and then they flower and do this, and then they're done. With figs, the amazing thing about them is they have no specific season. There have to be figs in various stages at all times. And this is why animals love figs, because a hungry animal can usually fall back on figs when their preferred diet is not in season. And often, figs are the only thing that stands between an animal, a hungry animal, and starvation. Then the fig. Figs are the sole source of sustenance for chimpanzees at certain times of the year. And figs are what is known as a keystone species. If you take them away, the whole ecosystem around them collapses. It's amazing. I never particularly liked them, but now I am such a fan. I just had to share some of that with you. For those of you who don't give a fig about any of that, I have finished. Do I have a call there? Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hey, so I have wondered this about the figs and eating the wasps in the pad, and I just looked it up again. So the cultivated, if you're eating fresh figs, like that you buy at the store now in Pittsburgh, they usually do not have the wasp in it. But I guess sometimes if you're eating dried figs, they have them. But I think I looked it up one time for fig Newtons, and I think they fell under the no wasp category. No, I don't know why I did that, because I despise fig Newtons. So
but I think figs you're not exact. I mean, the idea of eating a wasp is rather off-putting, but it is the remains. I mean, it is like mummified wasps that are in there. I mean, it's
but if you think,
so everybody knows.
Right, but like I have friends, and you probably do too, that grow figs here in Pittsburgh, and I don't think that wasp even exists here. So, but you couldn't get that wasp on those figs. And thank goodness they do, because I finally ate those things. I had no idea that figs were so good. Good Lord.
They're so sweet. I mean,
they're
always thought of as, they're like prunes, like something constipated old people have to eat.
Yeah, I thought it tasted like the fig Newton. Like, those things are terrible, but a fresh fig, wow, that was really amazing. So anyway, that was all. So you may or may not be getting figs in the ones that we eat, but yeah, it's an amazing story. Thank you.
Bye. See? Some people think figs are interesting. I do, man. Geez, nature. I'll tell you, I am so fed up with human beings, I can't see straight. So I just tend to now gravitate to these stories that have nothing whatsoever to do with politics and our society and people who are so often awful. I'm just so sorry to say it. And then there's wondrous ones, but so often awful. God. So let's see. Wait a minute, I got a lot of stuff in here. I wanted to go to, this is just a little thing that popped up. The first known walrus, not a seal, a walrus, has been photographed sitting on the rocks, sunbathing in Ireland. It's supposed to be in the Arctic Ocean. There is, I'm looking at the picture, there is the walrus. Looks a little bit confused, but otherwise not unhappy. These walruses are huge. There's a little girl who spotted them. And ran and got her father, and the father says, God, he's as big as a bull. Yeah, sure, they are. They're huge. And the only thing that they can figure is this huge walrus, poor dear, most likely, was snoozing on an ice floe of some sort, lying there, and global warming being what it is, the ice floe maybe broke off or it was already off and started floating away. And when this big walrus opened up its eyes, it said, uh-oh, where the hell am I? There was nothing familiar around, and he was in the middle of the ocean and clearly going south. So this poor guy, drifted on Ireland was the first place where there was land. So now he's stuck in a place where no other walruses are. And of course, everybody's staring at him. And geez, I hope they figure out what to do with him. The people who know about such things say, well, he must be exhausted and hungry. He's been through a trauma, and he just needs to rest. So stay away from him and let him find stuff to eat, which he will. And, they have these big tusks, and they use the tusks on land to dig for clams and other stuff that they can get on land, and then they're off and whatever. A guy like that big's got to eat a lot. So they're hoping eventually he gets strong and finds his way home. Well, how do you find your way home if the way you got where you were is, hitching a ride? You can't. I don't know. So I'm not worried about this walrus in Ireland, but it's not something I really should probably concern myself with, since I have no ability to help the poor guy. We have a caller. Hello.
Hi, Lynn. It's Dave from Washington.
Hi, Dave.
You were talking about the Grammys.
The Grammys, yeah.
The Grammys. I don't understand this modern music anymore, and I know I sound like my dad and my grandfather and stuff.
I know.
But first off, I play guitar, so I'm not a great musician, but I'm a little bit of a musician. There's hip hop and the music that's out nowadays. First off, imagine any of those acts without dancers.
Well, that's right. And you bring up a point, because I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt, because one of the things that did occur to me too. All of these naked women performing it seems mostly dancing.
That's it. There's no music. It's a performance. So
yes.
to me, it's not. It's some sort of performance art, and I'll give them that. But it's not music. What key is that in? There's no musical instruments. Music used to be musicians playing musical instruments together in front of a live audience. That was music. That's not what any of this stuff out and about these days is. There's no musical instruments on any of this stuff. It's all computer driven. They put
some
people
of what
out there.
I saw this guy do this. He did talking so fast.
Yeah.
That it blew me away, because it was actually understandable. It was like,
that's what I'm saying. It's a performance art.
He had a violin. And a full chorus.
Yeah, and that violin is so heavily manipulated, which I understand. I mean, there's always been studio manipulation in modern music and stuff like that. But there's nobody out there saying, okay, we're in the key of D, 4/4 music. Now here's, there's none of that. There's no bass player. There's no guitars. There's no keyboards. The music is not written out. It's all pretty much the same. You got this bass line that's just this weird blah, 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 and some kind of funky little percussion over top of it, which isn't really even a drummer. It's a machine. And then you have somebody just singing all these vocal gymnastics with a thing called auto-tune, so that everything is absolutely correct. And then the music cuts down for a second, you get into this weird little refrain, and then boom, it all starts back up again. I sit in a bar and listen to this stuff all the damn time. Drives me insane. But again, what key is that in? Is it all written down? Do you have any of this stuff annotated? Can a kid at home pick up a guitar or sit down in front of a piano and play these things? No. That's what rock and roll used to do. 2009, I think it was, Fender guitars sold the least number of electric guitars since 1964. Since the Beatles invasion, the British invasion, everybody went out and got electric guitars. Well, they don't sell very many electric guitars anymore because that's not a dominant instrument anymore.
That's not where music gets made. Yeah.
Right. It is no longer musicians. It is now studio guys. And granted, they put out some pretty neat stuff. I'll give them that. But don't tell me this is,
You do sound like your father.
Sure I do. But you know what? I also now I listen to the music that my dad used to listen to also, and I'm like, you know what? He was right. This is good stuff.
Yeah, right.
This is good stuff from way back then. But I'm also heavily into the music that I grew up in. But again, you can get that music sheets and sit down and learn how to play it at home. You can play your guitar at home and play all these songs. You can't do that with hip hop. You can create your own hip hop. Or if you got a little laptop, you can maybe, work it all out and learn the lyrics.
I wish I had more young people listening who could take you on. But we're a geriatric audience.
Bob Dylan didn't do. Bob Dylan was the first rap artist ever. You listen to "It's All Right, Ma, I'm Only Bleeding." Listen to "Homesick Subterranean Blues." That's all rap.
It's the words, right? He's telling stories with
And a lot of the stuff that comes out today, they are some pretty incredible lyricists. I will give them that.
Oh yes.
I mean, some incredible stuff, and I know that's the main appeal of it. But music-wise, I can't.
Things come around. Don't worry about it. You know what? There were two performances I saw in the time I was able to watch it that were you would have loved if you. I mean, they sang. I don't know who wrote this. Oscar and Hammerstein, some wonderful woman who, again, I didn't know, sang that song when you. I've been told never to sing again. When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high. Do you know that song? And don't be afraid of the dark. It is an old song. And she sang that, and it was mind-blowing. And then they paid tribute to John Prine another wonderful woman sang one of his, I think his last song that he had written. And so it's still, that's still there, but right, it's not the popular music. The popular music is this overly sexualized
absolutely
choreography. I don't know.
Right. You mentioned John Prine. People for decades have been trying to get me to listen to John Prine, and just never thrilled me. So I went out and downloaded a whole bunch of his stuff, like his whole darn thing. I listened to a bunch of it, and I'll tell you what, I just don't get it.
Really?
No, I'm not a John Prine fan. You know who else I just can't quite get into is Leonard Cohen.
Oh, see, that's another one I love.
I don't know why. I don't know why. John Prine, he just strikes me as being a Bob Dylan wannabe. I'm a big Dylan fan. You know that. For some people have been trying for decades to get me into John Prine. And I just don't get it. I don't get Leonard Cohen. That voice is a little too low, a little too slow.
John Prine's songs he has created, wonderful music of just of the smallest little things in human life. And some of his lyrics are just wonderful. Yeah. It's about someone sitting on a backyard, in the backyard, looking at the laundry flapping in the wind and the, train whistle. But it's just visual, wonderful. I don't know. It's his humanity that just freaks me out.
Oh, that's right. I actually gave it an additional boost this year, like I say, after he died. All right, well, let me give it a
still
shot
can't
again.
do it.
Let me try one more time. Yeah.
No, everything is not for everybody. We all have, no, you can't. But those two I love. And I love Bob Dylan. I have
I know
more Dylan albums than any other artist. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably good too.
And I think Dylan loved Prime, by the way.
Yeah, I think they did. They're storytellers. They come from pretty much the same sort of roots, root music, Americana, whatever you want to call that stuff these days. The oldie time stuff.
Okay.
All right.
All
well,
right.
That was my weekly grump about something.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm sort of grumping along too. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Bye. And speaking of that music, it's been something I've been wanting to share with you. It was a tweet that somebody sent, and I thought that is so true. That classical music, and by the way, they gave Grammys for classical stuff, of course not in prime time, but classical music, most of the classical music that people know, they know from the cartoons they watched when they were kids. And that's the truth. That is the truth. I mean, they might think it was Bugs Bunny who wrote Hungarian Rhapsody, but but they know the tune. So I just wanted to remind you of that. It is amazing how we, as humans, gain information and knowledge, what the sources are, because sometimes what we know is from the cartoons. Like I'm right now looking at a video of Bugs Bunny dressed in tails at the piano, and he's doing Hungarian Rhapsody. Or people know the Barber of Seville, also from Bugs Bunny. And Sylvester the Cat and the Roadrunner. The Roadrunner uses Wile E. Coyote is often the stuff is from opera, The Bartered Bride, whatever. But we recognize the tunes, and in some ways that has always destroyed the music. So that the William Tell Overture got destroyed by. So what is that from? Wasn't that was a TV show that used that, right? Like Hopalong Cassidy or something. I don't know. But that is how most people who didn't have, like my father, classical music lover in the house, they heard classical music in that. I think I have a call or two. I'm not sure, but I'll say hi. Hello.
Hello, Lynn.
Hello.
Lone Ranger.
That's it. Lone Ranger.
I got a Bob Dylan story for you.
Okay.
I heard this, I don't know where I heard it. Just a couple of days ago, as a matter of fact. Anyway, Bob Dylan's walking down the streets of New York, and some lady called the police and said, there's a homeless guy wandering around, out on the sidewalk. So the cops came. They actually arrested him, took him into the precinct, and one of the cops there said, do you know who that is? And the guy says, who the hell is Robert Zimmerman? I guess he used his real name, and nobody knew that it was Bob Dylan.
I remember that story, but I think it was in New Jersey, and I think he was wandering around looking for some Bruce Springsteen place of some sort. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, he does look like a homeless man.
Yeah, he does. Little kerfuffle.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I had, Lynn.
Thank you. That's
Bye.
great. Thank you. Bye. Okay. Now, I don't know if there's somebody else there, but if there is, hello? Maybe not. Beth says she has a mindless question for the audience. Okay, I'm into that. Here we go. Now that we are seeing light at the end of the COVID tunnel, a question to you in the audience. And are there things you did during COVID that you are going to keep on doing? See, this is sort of like what I mentioned last week, is that I feel some ambivalence about leaving all of this pandemic experience behind. It provided great cover for those of us who are not necessarily constantly social or sociable. It was harder on people who have a constant, need for human companionship. I'd rather sit around with figs. But yeah, okay, so here's the question. Her is, she's going to wear a mask during flu season. I said the same. I think I will too. She says, I never grew a garden in my life, but we did one last year and we're excited to do it again. That's a wonderful positive from there. And then they canning. And she's found it's okay being a homebody. I think we'll find that there are things that we can take away that are positives. We certainly got to know ourselves better in many ways, right? Now, I did something that I haven't done in over a year. This weekend, I went with old fogey, fully vaccinated friends to a restaurant. I had not been to a restaurant. And while it was, I thought I would be more blown away again. I got to come up with I thought I would have been more thrilled than I was. And I was a little disappointed in my own reaction. So I thought to myself, so this is what you've been missing. And I thought, yeah, okay, well, it's nice. But I was underwhelmed. So, yeah. So Beth says, I have to say the one thing that was great during COVID was when you got the invite. Yes, that's it. We've lost our excuse. The invitation to a baby shower, birthday parties, family functions, you just say, I'm sorry, can't do. But what if there's on Zoom? Then you were stuck. But on Zoom, you could sort of wander away a little bit too, or all of a sudden have technical difficulties and disappear. So yeah, Beth says I'll miss the COVID cover. The great excuse of COVID, indeed. About papers being delivered, Bree, writing from Malaysia, says, my neighbor gets a newspaper delivered every day and the delivery guy has a noisy motorbike and comes at 7 a.m. Needless to say, I wish he would go digital. Yeah. My paper guy must be so quiet that, anyone who approaches our front door, my dog goes crazy. My dog is never roused from his sleep when the guy who delivers my paper drops it. So I can't quite figure that. Oh dear. I thought I wasn't going to have enough stuff for today, and I haven't gotten to half of it. Not even a third of it. I suppose I should thank the figs for that. Henry writes, Lynn, I'm late to the show, so if you covered this in advance, but I watched all 4 hours of the Grammy. Oh, geez, Henry. And the later the show ran, the raunchier it got. Wow. that performance by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion was just about the worst I've ever seen. Well, it is raunchy as all hell. I mean, I've seen the video, so I don't know what they did live. Okay, I'll let Henry talk. Not only was there no musical value, there was nothing entertaining about it except maybe for its shock value. Funny thing is, it came right after a very strong statement by the Recording Academy about their tolerance policy for minorities, women, and sexuality. I'm sure that was a well-planned statement. Well, yeah, it troubles me. Don't tell me that I don't see male entertainers having to perform in songs, God forbid. But that's what these women are doing. I will say, and I do appreciate the Black women, like the two you saw, who by white standards are hefty women. I love that Black culture does not devalue big Black women. They find big Black women sexy. And I sometimes, admittedly, look wistfully as a white woman who's lived in a white culture, because we are held to the most ludicrous standard of what is considered a beautiful woman's body. But why do women, I mean, you know, I'm the old feminist here. I don't understand. This is what we fought for, I guess. And I think it might be that just a lot of the culture is so sexualized. And I find it a turnoff. As I said, subtlety. There's nothing more, if everything is out there and available, what's erotic? How doesn't that kill eroticism? You know, how does somebody get excited anymore? Oh, yeah, okay. I mean, it used to be, you know, when people were more covered up, you know, a woman bearing a shoulder would be an extraordinary turn on, because that which is not readily available all the time is something that, yeah, arouses interest and just plain old arouses. But if it's all just flat out there, what? I'm sorry. I don't get it. But, you know, this is where we are. And I've often expressed my, you know, lack of affection or respect for much of our culture, our popular culture, and what it continues to do to women is one of the big reasons. And with women in full support of it, seemingly. So I really don't get it. Still screwing up little girls' heads, and let alone sexual development. Geez, I don't know. I don't know. So, had lots of stuff to talk about. This Vatican thing, not good for the gay Catholics. They say they cannot bless. And this is this Pope can't bless same-sex marriage or civil unions or anything. He'll only bless you if you're not doing it. On the other hand, they make clear that they also don't bless unions before, you know, premarital. They're hanging with, you can't do it till you get married. Put a ring on the finger. Yeah. So I find that sort of ridiculously going in the other direction. Whatever. Okay, guys, I guess I'm out of time. Jeez. And I had some heavy duty subjects, and I'm delighted I didn't get to them. Maybe I'll force my sister into it tomorrow. Okay. Enjoy your day. Stay safe, and I'll talk at you tomorrow. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.